Hey, I'm Dr. Brett here, and I'm with my former co-host of Open Door with Dr. Brett, Veronica Brion. She's my girlfriend, and we're about to do a little question and answer session on life and business. What would you like to ask me?
My question today is, what's the best way to communicate? Meaning, I have a friend that is, has a lot of conflict, learning how to communicate. They're up and coming and learning how to communicate.
Okay.
Now, the balance between communication at work with a boss that doesn't listen to her, that has ADHD, and then really having a communication.
Now, is this truly a friend, or is this you? I feel like this might be you.
We always
I'm not sure who this friend is at the moment, but
we always say our friends. It could be
I understand.
projection.
But in the beginning, look, I'm a huge believer in building muscle, right?
Exactly.
I'm always constantly doing this with clients for fun, and the reason I'm doing it is communication is a muscle. And so the more we practice, the more we build the muscle. The more we practice, the more graceful we get. Because what a lot of people do is they wind up holding things in, and then they explode, or sometimes they get passive aggressive. And the more we practice communicating, the less we do those things that we don't want to do, like get passive aggressive or explode.
Explain passive aggressive.
Passive aggressive is when you're really upset or angry at something. Maybe your boss hasn't been treating you well, and instead of bringing it up, you start to call in sick or something like that. You take more sick days, or you start showing up late. That's passively expressing the anger as opposed to directly addressing it in communication.
I see that all the time as an HR professional is, the first thing I tell my managers is why don't you ask them what's wrong? And before you know it, they still don't communicate. So how do you get around that?
Well, they is the environment, and like any other environment, we often have more control than we think we might, and the way we exercise that control is to get really proactive. And I like to talk about proactivity being that you're anticipating a future consequence and you're taking action in the now so that you have a more favorable response down the road, right? So getting proactive would be, okay, so your boss is terrible at communicating. So you communicate more, and then the better you get, maybe your boss will improve as well.
Okay. Let's go back to what you said. You said...
Okay. I don't even know what I said at this point. Right?
You said proactivity, and you said being in the now.
Okay.
What is, for the people that don't know what the now is?
This is back to when we did our radio show, Open Door with Dr. Brett. Veronica was the co-host, like I was talking about in the intro, and she would often ask me to explain presence because I was constantly talking about presence, and the same thing with the now, right? The now is you get into the here and now. Not a lot of people are in their heads. They're in the future, they're in the past. The now is right here. So while we're having this conversation, I don't have any background running. I'm right here. Even though we have a camera on, I'm still right here, right now. And that's something that you can practice. So if you're in a meeting at work, how do you get back into the now? Well, you can pay attention to your breathing. And when you do that, you'll naturally come back to the now. Or you can do a thing called mindfulness. Mindfulness is basically paying attention to your thoughts or where your mind tends to go, and then you have an opportunity to redirect it. Redirect it where? Coming back to the now. This way you can listen and pay better attention.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything you said. I'm joking.
That's cute. She, when I roll my eyes sometimes, I do it playfully, just to let the camera know. Yeah, go ahead.
But no, that's a good explanation of now, but you've said a lot of other things.
Okay.
I'm going to stick to the subject of communication, and it's really good. Thank you very much for really expressing how to do the communication piece a lot better, because people really, there's a fear factor in that communication piece when you're communicating.
Sure, I mean there's fear. Most people are running some form of fear in their lives, right? Our lives would be absolutely amazing if we're running little or no fear. And often I say that my job description is that I help people move through fear, right? And so one of the hugest blocks and obstacles to communication is the fear of a negative outcome or a negative consequence. But often what happens is if you don't communicate, you're actually creating that negative outcome. So what I'm asking people to do is not have fear, but to do it anyway. And that's basically what I refer to as the definition of courage, that you have the fear, but you just train yourself to do it anyway. And communication is a muscle, right? So you're going to train yourself to bring something up if it doesn't feel right. In your personal life, in your career, both. The more you practice, the better you get.
Thank you very much for that insight, and I'm looking forward to being on again.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. You want to stop the camera now?